Hey, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. And yes, guess what? Lean meat is a killer. Who knew? And yeah, it's funny that the medical profession, bodybuilders, a lot of other people that are in the health space always keep touting the importance of lean meat. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that actually that's a bad idea. And the two most notable experiments were actually one of them was a controlled experiment that was done by whose last guy whose last name is Stephenson. Really cannot pronounce his first name because it's Norwegian. But anyway, Stephenson did a lot of exploring with the Inuits. He was, that was his profession, and he lived with them. And initially, he kind of tried to stick to his Western diet, eating carbohydrates and stuff like that, but eventually relented and started eating a native diet as part of his anthropological experiments. And he got to know these folks and he wrote up a lot of notes and he realized just how robustly healthy the Inuits were and how strong they were and how they were able to survive and thrive in a really harsh environment. As things happened, he came back, he wrote up his notes into a book, and the medical profession went gaga. They said, you can't do that. There's no way you can eat a diet that is primarily fatty meat and be healthy. And Stephenson said, look, we'll prove it. Lock me in a metabolic ward, feed me nothing but meat, and I'll be healthy. They took him up on it. They expected him to get scurvy in a couple of weeks because that was the standard medical dogma that if you didn't eat vegetables and you didn't get any vitamin C, you're going to die of scurvy. That was their thought. So Stephenson goes in there, and that's when he found out that the medical profession wanted him to be healthy, so they gave him lean meat. And he kept telling them, no, the Inuits ate fatty meat. Do not give me this lean meat. This is going to poison me. And the medical profession, they just kept saying, hey, look, dude, you made your deal. You said that, you needed to eat meat. We're feeding you meat. We're giving you the healthy type, the lean meat. And Stephenson did not think that was going to be a good idea. And sure enough, within a week, he is sick. He's got diarrhea like crazy. He's losing muscle. He's feeling horrible. And the doctors are all going, see, we told you. And he said, look, the problem is you're not adding fat to it. The Inuits ate fatty meat, and there needs to be fat with this stuff. And after week 2, he is getting worse. And Stephenson said, look, I'm going to call off this experiment if you don't add some fat to this. So they relented and decided to give him fatty meat. And within 2 days, after getting fat again with his meat, Stephenson's health returned. The diarrhea went away. He started getting stronger and he became robustly healthy. And he stayed that way and he stayed on this diet for over a year. The medical community kept checking him, waiting for the scurvy to happen. It never did. He just got healthier and stronger every single day, eating a diet of fatty meat. And it blew their minds. Now, what was interesting was for the next 90 years after that experiment, the medical profession still pushes lean meat, even though there's more than ample evidence to show that it's a combination of the fat and the protein and the meat that work together synergistically to build muscle and to create health. You need fat with your meat. That is why ribeyes are just so darn popular with carnivores, because it's just a perfect blend of fat and meat together. You need both. And that is what's vital for muscle synthesis. And we have the experiments. We know that to be scientifically provable. Yet the medical profession, the bodybuilding bros, etc., still insist on eating lean chicken breasts, and they keep telling you that lean meat is healthy. And it's not true. You need the fat in order to make yourself maximally healthy, particularly if you're eating a carnivore diet. And if you don't believe me, then look at the Lewis and Clark expedition, which was another fascinating case study in this. The Stephenson's one was actually a controlled medical experiment case report that they did. And it was written up in the medical journals and promptly ignored because, frankly, it went against dogma. But the interesting thing about the Lewis and Clark expedition is these guys, were, out with all these Native Americans. The Native Americans are eating pelican, which is a, way of preserving meat, which is basically fat. And, that's what they were munching on. And they were staying healthy and kept their energy up. The white guys that are out there with these folks, so people in the Lewis and Clark expedition, on average, according to their records, were eating 8 to 9 pounds of lean meat every single day. And this is from natural sources, lean elk, deer, rabbits, stuff like that. And yet they are basically starving to death out there. They are losing muscle, they're losing weight, they're losing strength, until they realized, that the Native Americans that we're with, they're healthy. What are they doing? And they started realizing they were also eating fat in the form of the pelican. And when they started incorporating fat into their meat, they got their health back. They started gaining weight again. They started getting stronger. They were able to keep up their strength during that incredibly difficult journey. So, in other words, eat your fat. I mean, it bugs me to no end when I see people get a ribeye and trim off the fat like it's some sort of horrible thing. I take their fat from them and I'll eat it with my meat because, and I don't mind doing it because it's delicious and it allows the meat to be absorbed better. So fat and meat go hand in glove together. They work together and make you stronger. Eating lean meat is a death sentence. Don't do it. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore, wishing you a really good, fat, juicy ribeye steak for dinner sometime in the near future. Don't trim your steaks. Utilize that fat for what it is. It is a nutrient. It's one of the two that you need. You need protein, you need fat. And they work together synergistically. You need to eat them together. And that's going to make you stronger and better off. And if you want to gain weight and to become less healthy, then eat fat with carbs. I mean, that lots of butter on a baked potato is a great way to gain lots of weight, lots of fat, and to make yourself maximally unhealthy, because those two do not show up in nature together. You will not find a baked potato with fat. You will not find any carbohydrate source out there that comes bonded with fat. Meat, on the other hand, are perfectly blended. And you will notice that our ancestors that thrived, survived, that put their genes forward into the future, that made you the person that you are, ate meat, and it was blended perfectly with just enough fat. The people that did not eat their fat started losing their health. They became like the Lewis and Clark expedition. They became like Stephenson, etc. And it's provable. And frankly, look at a bodybuilder. When they are in a cutting phase and they're eating on the lean chicken breast, that is when they're at their unhealthiest. They're losing weight, they're losing muscle. They're just trying to get that last little bit of moisture out of their system so they can have maximum exposure of their muscles, and they want to take away what little bit of fat they've got on their body out of themselves, and then basically dehydrating themselves. And they're not at maximum healthiness when they're at competition weight. So that's not the best way to eat. If you want to be maximally healthy, it's not to be at 1% body weight or 1% body fat. The idea is to have enough that you're healthy, robust, and strong. That's what you're really shooting for if you're really trying to be maximally healthy. Like I said, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I try to put out a couple messages each week, usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you like this message, please hit like and subscribe. Join this channel of other like-minded folks, and I will talk to you again soon.